exercise like that is a most incredible opportunity if you take your time and make it real. And this is why, is that it increases your sensitivity and puts you in touch with the nature of the people around and about you, those in your environment, until at some point, eventually, these blue threads begin to connect with people all over the world, starting with people that you've known from the time you were born, starting with your parents, your grandparents, your aunts and uncles, and then the little friends that you played with, and then some of the friends you made during high school, junior high, high school, on into college, and then on out into the professional life. And then spiritually, and then in this expansion process, you are learning about the oneness of life. I can't share much more because then it becomes theoretical until you actually have these experiences. But this is what it means to build continuity of consciousness. It means it connects your heart with the heart of others, with the heart of the universe, with the cosmic magnet. This is why I think, master artists have visions of great spiritual beings, and they always put a white light around the head of these holy people. Well, this white light represents the light of the soul and the nature of consciousness of this great being. And this light, as you're going to learn from the talk this morning, has the ability to penetrate way out into many, many miles of space. And when your light, your consciousness has that ability, you have continuity of consciousness. Imagine how creative such a person is going to be. Imagine what their potential is, their capability is to bring transformation about in the world. Now, having said that, this morning I'm going to be talking about the effects of negativity upon our consciousness. Let's begin with a definition of consciousness. This is just one among 150 pages of definitions of consciousness, but this is a good one. Consciousness is the soul's light or radiation. If you remember nothing more than this, remember this one, that consciousness is the soul's light or radiation. Now, this consciousness is, we are told in the teaching, an accumulation of light around our head that can penetrate many miles and be amplified through them. Okay, now, how does a negative consciousness affect this? It does. And you're going to learn about how negativity affects your own consciousness, your own attitude, your own being. And you're also going to learn how being in an environment around people who have a negative state of consciousness poisons your own light. When that poison comes into your psyche, then your own light begins to dim and dim and dim and dimmer until you yourself have a very small radius of light. So it's really important, I think today's talk, even though simple, it is important to understand the negative effects of having a negative consciousness and then what to do about it. A negative state of consciousness only sees the dark side of things, the dark side of thoughts, the dark side of emotions, and the dark side of events. And this state of consciousness, what happens is it begins to grow. And as it grows, then this person easily becomes fanatical, easily becomes obsessed. Having a negative state of consciousness causes people to see only things that are ugly. That's all they can see. They may be in a room of beautiful people, or they may be in an art museum of the most magnificent art available to mankind, and all they can see is ugliness. All they can see when they're conversing with you is a failure. All they can see is instability. Imagine you yourself pouring love and joy and energy into your environment, and then a person coming into your life that sees only your instability, sees only your weaknesses, sees only your ugliness. Day after day after day after day, what is it going to do to you? Out of instinct, you're going to recoil, and that or be repulsed. And in that repulsion, you're either going to reject the individual and cast them out of your life, or you give them control over yourself, and thus your own protectiveness will begin to reduce that light and make it dimmer and dimmer and dimmer until you have the same negative consciousness of the person that's injecting poison into you. Of course, there's also the person who has just the opposite state of consciousness, which is called the all is good consciousness. If you've ever been around somebody who has an all is good consciousness, you soon stop listening to that person. You know it's not real. You look at their life and you see the miseries in their life, but they say, oh, all is good. All is good. What is happening is they're masking what is not good in their life and refusing to acknowledge it and change their life. See, they're not real. All is good people can be trapped in unimaginable miseries until eventually they are forced to see the facts of life. And the all is bad person destroys his life to such an extent that he can no longer have that opportunity to be somebody. Now, so we have the all is good person, the all is bad person, the negative state of consciousness person. Now we also have the healthy person. And the healthy person, of course, is who we want to be with and who we ourselves want to be. A healthy person has principles and standards and measures by which he or she senses things around and about in their environment, within themselves, within their environment, within their professional life, within their workspace, and so forth. They have the sensitivity to recognize a dark heart from a heart that is alive. This is what discrimination is about. It's sensitivity to the currents of sound, the currents of energy, what is being portrayed or what is emanating from another human being, or even from a community, a city, a state, a nation, a world. They recognize and discriminate between the dark heart and a heart that is alive. They can recognize ugliness from beauty. They recognize that in a heart that is alive is a person who's going to give them hope, who is going to give them vision, who is going to give them a sense of future. A positive person is that healthy person. A positive person is one who has a conviction that beauty and light and love eventually will be the most desirable goals to attain in their life. Now, this is interesting. I listened to a television program a while ago where a very notable interviewer, a woman, her initials are BW. She's not an educator. She is a great interviewer. And she said, they were talking about gratitude. And she said, what I did one day, she said, I decided there is such a hype on gratitude that I was going to set a goal of being grateful for 2 weeks. And she said by the end of 2 weeks, she was so bored about being around people. She said, I had to tell them how much I appreciated them, and I had to appreciate who they were and what they did. When we had lunch together, I had to appreciate my lunch. She said, by the time the end of the 2 weeks, she said it was the most boring 2 weeks I had ever experienced. Well, I was shocked. But then as I was listening to Richard read the verse this morning, talking about you have to really feel gratitude. You have to experience it. It's not something just to define. And she was trying to define gratitude. So when we say the beauty and light and love are goals, gratitude is also part of the formula or the component that must go into experiencing beauty and light and love. You can't just say, wow, I'm so grateful for my life. You have to know what it means to be grateful for your life. Because if you are grateful for your life, you're going to be a healthy person. You're going to have a positive consciousness, and you're going to do everything possible to take care of yourself and your family and your co-workers and your business associates and your entire life. That's a demonstration of gratitude and love and beauty and light. Okay, so let's say that we have a negative consciousness. How are we going to know? To have a negative consciousness, I'm going to give some examples here, means that if you have a negative consciousness and you're going to read an article, or you're going to read a letter, or you're going to read a spiritual book, the content is not important to you. The perfection of grammatical is going to be there and say, no, there's nothing perfect in this book. Look at the commas are wrong. The spacing is wrong. This is wrong. That is wrong. That's what a negative, polarized consciousness, how they're going to think. When they come into a lecture, they're going to say, what is she wearing? What's her makeup look like? Oh, look at her hair. She's having a bad hair day. And 20 minutes into the lecture, hasn't heard anything being said. That's the negative consciousness. All they see in that presenter is the weakness in the quality of their voice. The hidden agendas behind their activity. See, they're always looking for what's bad, what's wrong, what's inferior, what's weak. That's the person that has a negative state of consciousness. Okay, let's take, for example, grammatical mistakes, because I've certainly been the recipient of such kind of consciousness, and thus I've learned. Some time ago, I wrote an article about esoteric astrology. And the content was information that the majority of people in the spiritual community do not know about. So I sent the article to my spiritual teacher and said, what do you think? He said, this is great. Now, this is a published author. He said, send it to Meditation Monthly International and have them publish it. So I gave the article to the editor. The editor looked at it and said, okay, we're going to publish it. Great, I was so excited. You know, I'm going to share something and educate people on things they don't know. A few days after the article was published, a coworker sent a corrected version of the article to me in the mail. She had decided to edit the article herself because she had been a school teacher at one time. She was retired then. She made countless red markings, corrected what she considered grammatical errors. Her negative conscience affected my writing for a few months, but I tried to make something good out of it. First of all, realizing what I call, this is a red letter person. You know, that's the old school. Remember some of you when you were in school and you had, you know, in spelling, I had all these red letters in spelling. You know, that's the past. That is so old-fashioned. Anyways, so I decided, well, I can buy into that negativity or I can use it somehow for the good. So I went out and bought a whole bunch of books on grammar and began to learn myself rather than relying on everybody else to edit my poor grammar. You know, okay. But that person, when I later talked to them and they said, but what about the content? Now, you know, Jolene, I couldn't read the content because the grammar was so bad. Well, it wasn't, you know, and when I went back and talked to the editor of Meditation Monthly, this was also a grammar teacher, and she was also retired. But the difference is she updated herself on grammar, today's grammar, versus back in grade school days of grammar. She said, your paper is fine. There are a few little things here and there, but it's fine. One who has a negative consciousness has no appreciation for the service that you render. No gratitude. They have no appreciation for the love that you have, or for the gratitude you may feel toward them. See how negativity blinds their consciousness. Those rays of light that extend from the accumulated light, as I was explaining earlier, that accumulates around our head, there is no rays coming from their soul. They have no sensitivity. No sense of beauty, no sense of love, no sense of gratitude. See how that works? So they default into this negative state of beingness. They always try to find something to negate your opinions, your actions, or even your plans. If you do something useful for others, he tries to see a wrong motive behind your action. One day, a mother was trying to give encouragement to her son and daughter-in-law and sent them what she considered a letter of love. The couple were struggling with things in their married life, and they were really down on their luck. It took her an hour to make sure that everything in her letter was worded with love and care and concern in such a way that she felt it would uplift their spirits and help to heal their marriage. The son was responsive to the positive side, you know, the positive influence, the love of the letter. The wife was not. She saw only the worst. All she could read was bad things in that letter, and told her husband's mother she never wanted to see her again. For the son, the letter was beautiful and uplifting for him. For the daughter-in-law, there was no appreciation coming from her. She had found nothing but negation of all the good written in the letter. The daughter-in-law was only concentrating upon all that she thought was ugly and wrong and short and condemning and unloving. Now, if I saw that letter and I read through the letter because the mother brought it to me, said, "What do you think?" And that's when I really saw the definition, how a negative state of consciousness can only see bad, even if the whole letter is love. That's how poisoned it is to be around a person with a negative state of consciousness. The wife's negative consciousness was, in this situation and other areas of her life, what was happening is that there was a blocking of her psychic energy. This current or life-giving current of energy that is normally circulating within us was not circulating. In other words, that life-giving psychic energy wasn't there. That means that her soul was so dim that her life was functioning through negative energy that was poisoning herself and poisoning her marriage. She could not see the good in the letter or even the good in her husband, and perhaps even worse, she could not see the good in herself. Negativity destroys such a person's true identity. To feel that they have an identity, to feel that, they are really somebody. They always attack others to feel that they exist, that they themselves exist, and that they are superior to those around and about them. In other words, they feel superior if they can make others feel inferior. Negative thinking people, here's a little 4 or 5 points so that you can help identify them if you have problems identifying them. But you can see the effect of their negativity upon their lives. The first thing is that they have health problems. And as their life increases, as they get older, the health problems increase. They can never do something significant or something great. See, because that life-giving psychic energy is not there. They typically had a very painful childhood. Their mothers, their fathers, their sisters and brothers did not like them. So those are 4 points that you can investigate regarding the background of where that person came from, how he or she grew up. So it gives you a better understanding, of their struggles or the cause of their health problems. It may be in reality they had very painful days, very cloudy days, and parents who are not the ideal. But still, they just never see anything beautiful in their life. And all they see and talk about is their past miseries. There was a woman who always talked about how bad her husband was. Well, you know what happened. There was a divorce, eventually a divorce. So she went to the pastor of her church, and the pastor of the church met with her every week, and they would pray and pray and pray that a new beautiful, wealthy man, handsome man, would come into her life, and she would live the rest of her days in wealth and joy and abundance and everything that she wanted. Well, what happened is that man came into her life, And they dated for about 2 years. And then one day, this magnificent, beautiful, handsome, wealthy man went in to talk to the pastor, and he said, "Pastor, I am leaving her. I cannot be around her negativity. She is hurting me. She is poisoning me. All she does is talk about her previous husband. All she talks about, all of her pain and miseries that she had when she grew up." He said, "I cannot be with her." And he walked out of what could have been an incredible relationship, an incredible marriage. But he had so much light around him, he had the strength and the courage to walk away. So darkness did not take over the light. Negative people blame others for every painful experience. Their teachers had all bad qualities. Their ministers, their pastors were awful. And their parents were the worst parents on the planet. Most of these people project onto others their own weaknesses, their own ugliness. This gives them a chance to relieve themselves from their psychological tensions. They blame others and conditions because they do not want to see the things that are within themselves. This is interesting psychology. Sometimes I see people like that create a ruse where they begin to judge themselves. And they do this as a way to justify themselves or to appear smart. Like they'll go to a teacher or their pastor or a friend and say, "You know, I see these things about myself. I see I'm negative. I see I'm failing. And I really am not quite sure what I'm going to be about, what I'm going to do about it. But I want you to love me anyway. And help." They don't ask for help. This is the ruse. It's trying to explain it. It's like they don't want you to criticize them anymore. So they want you to respect them by saying, "I know I have a problem here, and I'm working on the problem, so love me anyway." Do you get it? Have you been around people like this? It's very curious. Okay. Here's a suggestion you might want to try. If you are a negative person, you can do this to help yourself. Or if you are around others, so that you yourself can keep from falling into negativity, or you can help others. And the first step is this: try to see things as they are. Do not use a filter system. That's the first thing. Don't use a filter system. Deal with the facts. The fact is this and this and this and this. Then begin to see things from various points of view. This is where advice is wonderful. You go to your friend, you go to your teacher, you go to your pastor. Give them the facts and say, "Tell me, what do you think?" Then go to another person. "Give me your point of view." Particularly if it's about yourself. Say, "I have this situation with myself and I'm trying to transform it. I'm trying to resolve this problem. How do you see this problem in relationship to me?" And then you put all of these points of view together and then try to be honest with yourself. This is the first step toward your happiness, toward joy, toward bliss. Try to be honest, not only with others, but also with yourself. If you see that person coming to you and negating you and undermining you, like that mother or mother-in-law that sent a letter to the son and the daughter-in-law, the mother should have gone to that daughter-in-law and said, "You're not seeing things clearly. You're looking in the mirror at yourself. What can I do to help you understand what true love is, what unconditional love is. So try to be honest, not only with others, but also yourself. Teach people how to appreciate others. That mother-in-law could have taught that daughter-in-law how to appreciate her son. See, that would have been a first step. How to appreciate the mother-in-law, how to appreciate the family. But you're not going to start there. You're going to start with a neutral zone. How to appreciate the trees, how to appreciate the flowers, how to appreciate a newborn baby, how to appreciate new little puppies and kittens. Then you get into the heavier stuff. How to appreciate your husband. Teach them to see something beautiful in all events and all situations. See, this is rather than reacting to a person who is coming after you, what you're going to do is say something to yourself, something beautiful that you can see in this situation. There may be nothing but ugliness, but you're going to see beauty in the future of that individual. You're not going to see and identify and connect with their ugliness, because if you do, then they are winning. See that? They are ejecting their poison in you, and then you become as ill as they are. It is important to develop a sense of value and to see your failures within the vision of future victories. This is so very important. When you develop your sense of values, then you can see things exactly as they are. But with such a balanced attitude that no focus is going to be placed on negative elements. Negativity makes a person impose his thoughts and will on you and on others. And if you become so intimidated, again, that poison that's being injected into you is dimming your positivity, dimming your consciousness, dimming your light. A negative person eventually tries to secure a dictatorial or a know-it-all control over you. They'll position themselves in such a way that they begin to exercise their negativity without restriction. In other words, he conquers his target, and his target caves in to that controlling, dictatorial, I know-it-all person. Tyrannical people do not allow others to have their own point of view. The authoritarian way of thinking, feeling, and action rejects all other kinds of thinking, feeling, and action. This is the best way to become stagnant. In fact, you stifle others as well, depriving yourself and the other or others of new and fresh currents of thoughts and feelings and actions. So you don't open the door to another person's point of view or idea or opinions or creativity. For people who have a negative consciousness, or for yourself, if at times you see that you are being controlled by negative thinking, there is a good remedy. And that remedy is to practice some exercises that are found in a book called Happiness, Joy, and Bliss. You can find that book on White Mountains online bookstore, or you're welcome to call the office. It's a very valuable book. In fact, let me show you, because this is the book that Richard read from this morning, the Happiness, Joy, and Bliss. and it's by Torquem Serdarian. Negativity has its roots also in the sense of being unworthy. Once you feel that you are worthy of nothing, then you try to make all else unworthy around you. This is why it is a terrific gift if you can give some people, help them develop a sense of worthiness within themselves. Negative people are surprised when someone gives them an opportunity to succeed. They think either that person is crazy or you've got a hidden agenda going on. This is why you must not personally give opportunities to negative people, but create an environment that will lead them to discover opportunities, especially if you are in a leadership position. See, there's a real psychology there. Now, every person has some percentage of negativity. It is not always active, but people who have a negative consciousness continue to re-stimulate and make that negativity active. You see what I'm saying here? It's like, say, okay, well, because sometimes I'm negative, does that mean my consciousness is negative? No, unless you find a way to continually re-stimulate it and to make it active. You often see how you turn negative in the presence of negative people. If you find yourself in the presence of negative people, you've got to do something about it or you're going to become just like them. So what do? You gradually withdraw yourself from that person or that group or that community. Gradually withdraw yourself, just kind of fade away. Negativity is a widespread disease. It is a contagious disease. And curiously enough, negativity is used to exploit us, to manipulate us. If you don't believe me, turn on the media. Turn on the news. I was just thinking, the latest negative news today in the last few days has been with the nightly news program by Brian Williams. This is a really nice man. He is a really, really good man. And the news has hopped every, New York Times, Huffington, Washington, Times, all these major newspapers. This poor man, he's been forced to walk away for a few days while they investigate some of the things that he may have said that was not true. While journalists exaggerate, they have to make the news. But he's apologized. I mean, he made some pretty big bloopers there, but now he may lose his job because of it, because of what the world is doing. To me, he is one of the best journalists out there. 30-minute. If you ever watched his program, it's riveting. It's so well done. So they've targeted him. There's something going on. He's being set up. They watch how the negativity builds upon itself and how people walk right into it. Yeah, let's get him out of there. Where is forgiveness? Where is tolerance? Where is understanding? If we're going to expel a really good man out of a well-paying and well-done job, then we better line up all the other journalists, all the statesmen, all the politicians, and start kicking them out too for lying. Yeah. Okay, I'll get off my... Sorry. Negativity breaks our connection with our solar angel. Negativity even breaks our connection with our teacher. Those who cut their connection with their inner presence live a life of confusion and without guidance. The personality always tends toward negativity. Our inner presence is our positive pole. We as a human soul have a chance to charge our personality and current of positivity if we are in contact with our inner presence. If we have no contact with it, then we become a victim of our personality. Continuous criticism prepares us to be negative and prepares the environment, inner and outer environment, for degenerative diseases. Negativity weakens our immune system because certain important cells in our body are under continuous pressure of negativity. Many sicknesses or diseases follow a period in which we were involved in negativity. Many diseases can be cured by the spirit of positivity. We see this, now in science, where people that have been diagnosed with a serious illness position themselves with a group of healthy, loving, caring people that want to try to heal them. And they pray and they meditate and they discuss things that are beautiful and wonderful and healing and healthy. And these are the people that have the chance to hear that doctor say, I don't know what happened, but you're cured. So many diseases can be cured by establishing the spirit of positivity. The blood regenerates. Listen to this. The blood regenerates only if there is love and hope and a sense of future. Negative people are destructive people because destruction feeds their negativity. They feel satisfied. Unless they destroy something or hurt people and their future, they do not feel satisfied. I have about another 3 minutes. Do we have time to go on? Yeah, okay. Negativity has a paralyzing effect upon our nervous system, leading to depression, leading to apathy. Negativity even poisons the secretion of our glands. Those who are negative can be possessed very easily by destructive forces. So we must be careful and watchful to withdraw ourselves from any destructive activity before it is too late. Like that wealthy, beautiful, handsome man, after 2 years, walked away from that relationship, knew his life would be destroyed if he continued to be affected by this negative woman. Okay, here are a few points that we can do to conquer negativity. The first is to increase joy within ourselves and within others. The next is cooperation. Don't fight against everything, because cooperation dissolves negativity. Be cooperative. It's okay. Admiration is a great method to break the spirit of negativity. Some people say, if you admire others, you're a weak person. That's the oddest thing to me. Or that if you're devoted to something, that makes you weak. No, admiration is a great method to break the spirit of negativity. Gratitude is another virtue that can destroy negativity if you really experience it in your heart. Bliss is one of the most powerful solvents of negativity. So find ways that you can experience bliss. some more specific ways. Find a time to isolate yourself and observe yourself as if the negative one is another person. This is you. You're the negative person. You want to isolate yourself and observe what is in me that is so darn negative. So you create, if you're a sculptor, maybe you could do this for real. But if you're not, chances are you're not, go ahead and build an image in your mind of you. Try to observe the negativity in that other person. The next point, am I clear? I'm having to run through this because we're out of time. Number 2, keep silent as much as you can. Even keep silent when other people talk all kinds of nonsense. Let it go. Just keep silent. 3, fast 1 or 3 days monthly. 4, of course, see your doctor before you do it. I mean, you may have health problems, but you can gradually work into fasting. Like fast for a half a day, fast for 10 hours, until you build up your system that you can actually, with the sanction of your doctor, you can fast even, 3 days a month. The 4th point, do not establish any partnership with negative people. And you're saying, but how can I not? Well, if you can't find a way, then you're just going to join them. So which is more important? Don't establish any partnership with negative people. Walk away. And the last one is dispel your negativity with prayer and meditation. You can throw some music in there too if you find some really good, positive, uplifting, inspiring music. And let me close with this. When you advance on the path, you're going to learn how to withdraw from a negative mood and enter into light and love and joy and peace and beauty. Phew. That really is something, isn't it? To think about. It's very, very important to our future, to our health, to the beauty of our life, is to really consider what are we going to do now that we know the effects that negativity have upon our consciousness.